Joining us right now is our resident psychologist here on Mornings on the Mall, and God knows we need it most days, Dr. Rick. Dr. Rick, thanks for joining us this morning.
Hi, good morning, guys. I wish it was under better circumstances.
It's always under horrible circumstances, it seems, but that's okay. You help bring a little bit of light to stories like this that are so clouded in darkness. Of course, we're talking about the murdering rampage that happened Friday night just outside the campus of University of California, Santa Barbara. It involved a young man who obviously was disturbed in many ways and also evil. He was under a therapist's care. He wrote a 141-page manifesto. He uploaded YouTube videos ranting about his troubles, mostly with women. Here's a little bit of the last video he uploaded just 24 hours before the killing spree.
Hi, Elliot Roger here. Well, this is my last video. It all has to come to this. Tomorrow is the day of retribution. The day in which I will have my revenge against humanity. Against all of you.
He goes on for about 10 minutes in this video, Dr. Rick, and you know, this kid is privileged. He's wealthy. He's actually, the irony here, he's videoing this from inside a BMW on the shore of Santa Barbara with palm trees in the background. He has everything that people in our society suggest is what you're trying to attain. People are searching for answers here, Dr. Rick.
Well, you know, I think more and more is going to come out. I actually saw a detailed analysis of his 141-page manifesto that, if true, raises lots of concerns regarding his childhood. I don't. You don't know how much is true and not, so you don't want to be slanderous. But even though there was a lot of money related to his growing up, there was also a lot of other things that may have been pretty brutal and harmful, if true, because we're dealing with someone who, when writing that, was really clearly not in a sound state of mind. It sounds like the family tried many times over to get the police to look into things, and I know as a psychologist how hard that has been. I've literally had to yell at a duty officer to get back to a patient's home because they asked her, do you have a gun? And she said no, and they believed her. And I said, no, go back, or I'll have to, really bump this up. And they did, and finally she confessed, and she was hospitalized. But the police aren't really fully trained.
Yeah.
Their hands are tied in terms of needing search warrants and so forth. I don't think any mental health professional was involved with them when they interviewed the young man. So, I think there are things that can be done. But again, as I've said before to you all, how much you want to develop public policy around these tragic events that are rather rare. They just seem more frequent because they get a lot of attention.
All right, but here's the thing I'm trying to get at. I mean, apparently some of the reporting is that this young man was in therapy since he was 8 years old. So the family knew that they had a problem. They were working to get this kid some help. At some point, doesn't the family have some responsibility to say, look, we're very troubled by this. We need to take action that protects not only our child, but also society at large?
Oh, I agree, and I just don't know how much they did or did not do.
Well, they gave him a BMW and let him roam free.
Well, it's very difficult to say how he was maybe a year before this. I mean, we don't know if we're looking at a chronic situation or did he rapidly deteriorate in the last 6 months. So, I mean, there's a lot of questions left unanswered in this situation. And also, do I recommend a family they do things that they necessarily don't follow? Not always are my recommendations or those of mental health professionals followed.
Yeah, but I mean, Dr. Rick, last time we had you on after a shooting situation, we, you had said that people around these individuals, family members, they need to be diligent, they need to be proactive, they need to be able to alert the authorities of things. That's what happened here.
Right.
And yet the authorities couldn't do anything or wouldn't do anything. I mean, when the police are sent out to the doorstep and they talk to the person and they determine, well, he seems fine to me, is that enough?
Oh, absolutely not. And this is where, we have to wait for the investigation. I'm the son of an ex-cop, so I'm pretty sensitive to how hard their jobs have been.
Yes.
So, I think we need to figure out what's going on. They sent 7 troopers. If that's true, that's overkill. 7 troopers, then maybe someone knew there was a serious issue, but they left it as a conversation at the door. That doesn't make sense to me.
Well, one hears, again, this is reporting that you read on this situation, that he had exhibited signs of extreme paranoia, had been prescribed medicine, but he wouldn't take it.
Yeah.
Now, is there anything that you can do when you find that a person who has been described as having extreme paranoia refuses to take their medicine?
I think, there are things that you can try to do to have them forcibly medicated. Again, it's extremely hard to do, and I don't think he was showing the level of paranoia that you would need to meet that criteria. I mean, there's a risk for us in my profession. I have patients who are quite concerning, but I can't hospitalize them all. People deteriorate when they're inpatient. They don't necessarily get better. It keeps them in a controlled situation. And then when they come out, they're not too happy with the therapist who forcibly had them hospitalized, and then what you have is a severing of the relationship, so you have no clinical monitoring. So it's a tough situation.
And then also the last thing, of course, is the question of guns. I think that most responsible Second Amendment advocates don't want people who are deeply disturbed psychologically to have access to firearms. The way the laws are right now, this guy was under a doctor's care, at least seeing a therapist. He had prescribed medications, but when he went to get his gun, there was no way for the gun shop to know any of those things. Should they have the right to know those things? And should there be additional screening processes? Is there a way to do that?
I think we have to look at it rather hard, because I think there's a real danger in terms of our civil liberties and freedom. It's much like someone getting their driver's license. If they don't acknowledge having had a history of seizures and a doctor didn't fill out a form and send it in, there are plenty of people who have seizure history who've been driving. I've evaluated them. So in the same situation here, I don't know, other than a police state, what you could do. Because again, he was never hospitalized, from my understanding, if that's true. So there's really no record. Although I find it hard to believe the police couldn't do a little investigation and find out he had bought guns. I mean, they can do so many other investigations. If that might be something when they look at their procedures of how to tweak things.
Because if they have records that the kid is a gun owner and they're at the door after some people have said he may be ready to hurt himself or others, seems like that's a 1-2 punch that could have put together a little prevention.
Absolutely. Well, like in the case of my one patient who said she was committing suicide and she had a gun. Basically, when I called to follow up, and it took a whole day of calling, but basically the police had said she was fine. She denied everything. I said, no, she has a gun. Go back, find it, get in there. I'll do the 72-hour hold. But it literally, I had to really kick up a fuss. So the police don't understand these issues, and some of it may be training.
All right, Dr. Rick, we got to leave it there. Thank you for joining us. I really do appreciate it. And listen, Dr. Rick just pointed out something out that needs to be emphasized here. This guy was intent on killing people, killing as many people as possible. He killed 3 of them with a knife. He killed 3 more with a gun, and he tried to kill a lot more with his car. If he didn't have access to a knife and a gun, he would have used that car, and he would have killed as many people as he wanted, because you can. In our society, in a free society, unfortunately, you have the freedom to be able to do that if you're so inclined.